Two members of the United States Congress are here in Israel this week to meet with elected officials and to help determine foreign policy. They are Representative Andy Barr of Kentucky and Representative Andy Harris of Maryland. They spoke to the Jerusalem Post via phone on the bus to Jerusalem.
Hello, this is Andy Barr. Well, we've had a great time so far. We've had a number of briefings. We visited our new embassy, our new U.S. embassy in Jerusalem, and met with our ambassador. We've visited with a number of officials with the Israeli government, and we have visited some very historic sites, including Hebron, and earlier today, the ancient site of Shiloh. So we've been to both Judea and Samaria, and spent some time yesterday with the National Police in Jerusalem and in the Old City. And we actually visited the Temple Mount yesterday as well. So a very packed itinerary, and terrific to see all of the great things that are going on in Israel. I have visited with Palestinian Authority officials previously in Ramallah. I've been to what is referred to as the West Bank. I've visited with Palestinians in what is referred to as the West Bank, and I've also visited with Jewish people in Samaria and Judea. So I have a kind of a well-rounded viewpoint and perspective.
And what lessons do you want to take back to America, like coexistence or violence or terrorism? What are you wanting to learn?
Well, I tell you, the lesson that I've taken away, especially today, in visiting Samaria and visiting, in particular, the Barr industrial zone in Samaria, and visiting with some of the businesses there that are very diverse in terms of their employees, where you have Arabs, Jews, Russians, all working together. In some cases, the managers, the supervisors are Arabs. In some cases, they're Jewish. But in virtually all cases, you see peace, prosperity, cooperation, a flourishing of the economy, and greater opportunity, cooperation, and peace. And the lesson that I take away from that is that economic development, economic freedom, free enterprise, and work under the laws of the State of Israel is the path to prosperity and peace for this region. And so clearly more development, particularly industrial development, where there are jobs, where there's greater opportunities under the laws of Israel, is a path to peace and prosperity for both Jews and Arabs.
And how did you grow up? Did you visit Israel as a child, or do you have any connection?
Well, I'm a Christian, and of course, as a member of one of the three monotheistic religions, we all have a connection here to the Holy Land, one way or the other. I've visited only 3 times. It's a long way away from Kentucky, but I've grown to love this place, and I love it as a Christian because of its obvious historic significance, but also to the Christian faith, but also as an American, because what I've come to understand is that both for the cause of freedom and combating anti-Semitism, but also promoting Western values and national security for the United States, it's critical to have a strong state of Israel, a strong, free, and secure Israel.
You have a Hebron in your home state, and that's funny that you visited Hebron. That's
right.
In Kentucky.
Yeah, so, and not only that, that's interesting that you mentioned that. Yes, we do have a Hebron, Kentucky. It's very near the airport in northern Kentucky in Cincinnati. But there are also some other names that we have that are in common, and we've kind of adopted some. Bethel, for example, is in my congressional district. Bethel, Kentucky, is in Kentucky, and we were commenting that, of course, Shiloh is also a name of a Civil War battle in Tennessee, but in my hometown of Lexington, Kentucky, there's a Mount Tabor Road. So there's a lot of biblical names that have been adopted as cities or places in the United States. Kind of underscores the common bond that we have, the Judeo-Christian tradition in the United States has a significant connection to the Holy Land here.
Hello, this is Andy Harris.
Shalom, Representative Harris. My name is Benjamin Bresky from the Jerusalem Post.
It's a pleasure reading your paper every morning.
What are you going to talk to the Prime Minister about?
Well, obviously the topics of interest are security in the region. We obviously both, our countries share an interest in anti-terrorism. We know that the threat of Iran is a major threat, with Israel and the United States both being object of Iranian threats over time. So there's a lot to talk about from the region.
And what do you think about Israel so far? I know you've been to some places that most people don't go to and some people consider dangerous.
Well, it's fortunate. It's my third visit here. This is my second visit with the Yes Israel project, and we've gone to places that I imagine most normal tourists don't go. But they are places where you need to understand the dynamics on the ground in order to come to reasonable conclusions about the future of the state and security in the state.
And tell us about meeting, the quote-unquote Jewish settlers and the quote-unquote West Bank Palestinians.
Sure. Look, we just met people. The bottom line is, we put labels on people, but I'm a father of five, and I know that what most people want for their families and their children is basically peace and prosperity. The opportunity to visit an industrial commercial zone where you have peoples of all backgrounds working together, again, making a living for their families, working in peace, helping the economy of the country. These are the goals that are reasonable goals and that seem to be working on the ground.
And what kind of lessons do you want to bring back to your home state? Did you get any insights? It's really more at a national level. The visit here is to deal with national level issues. I sit on the Appropriations Committee in Congress, so obviously we appropriate for our defense budget, our Homeland Security budget, and we need to make decisions, as well as our State Department budget. We need to make decisions about where our monies are best spent in promoting peace and also prosperity in the world, especially among our allies. And certainly Israel is among the greatest, our greatest allies in the world. There's been a lot of controversy recently about taking away the funding from UNRWA and the Palestinian Authority and BDS and so on and so forth. So you're, I guess, in the thick of all of that?
Absolutely. Our committee, on our Appropriations Committee, we did take a lead about the discussion of, sending U.S. foreign aid dollars and State Department dollars to entities that pay, terrorist pensions and terrorist families. I agree with the policy withholding those payments. I think that that's completely unreasonable in a civilized world to actually pay for the results of terror.
And what if someone were to argue that you shouldn't come here? Well, first of all, your colleague, Representative Barr, has been to Ramallah and met with Palestinian Authority officials. You've also done that?
I have not had the opportunity to meet with Palestinian Authority officials, but again, I know the history of what they've done. I know the history. Any group that again pays for terrorist acts has to be looked at questionably. Many Americans and many American congressmen and women come to visit Israel, again, because America has a fairly large stake in Israel, both from a mutual security point of view. as well as economic and just an alliance point of view. And I understand there are other congressional delegations, at least one other congressional delegation in town now. Again, this is the policy decisions we make are serious policy decisions. They have global implications, and I think there's no better way to understand about these implications and to come to the best conclusions without seeing things firsthand.
Okay, and last question, how did you grow up and what's your background? Did you ever visit Israel as a kid or anything like that?
I did not. I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens, and went to Baltimore for medical school at Johns Hopkins, and have been there. Been in Maryland ever since.
Thank you very much for coming on the Jerusalem Post, and thank you to your colleague, and welcome to Israel.
Well, thank you. Shalom.
This is Benjamin Bresky reporting for the Jerusalem Post. For more information, visit jpost.com.